We have been talking about adding and subtracting rational numbers to include fractions and decimals. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to elaborate on some more operations, but we're only going to focus on decimals right now. So we're going to talk about multiplying decimals. Now, I'm hoping you've done a little bit of this last year, but I'm going to go ahead and start at the beginning just in case. Things I need you to know about multiplying decimals. You do not need to line up the decimals. Like we did in adding and subtracting. Okay? After you've set up your problem, you're going to multiply like you normally do. Just pretend there are no decimals. Okay? Pretend there are no decimals. And then, after we've multiplied all the way through, we're going to count how many numbers are behind decimals. And then we're going to move that many in our answer. And when we do that, we're going to go from right to left, not left to right. I want us to try an example, and I want to show you a strategy that may help you. So the example we're going to do is 1.8 times 0.62. Now, I'm not going to worry about integer rules on this particular example because we want to get the basics. One of the strategies might be, notice I have my lines going vertically. If you take your journal and you turn it sideways, your lines are going to create columns for you, and that's going to help you keep your numbers in order. Now, if you write pretty nice and neat and straight, this is not necessarily something you need to do, but it is a strategy you could do. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to put one number in each column, 1.8, and then I have, this is, when we write multiplying vertically like this, is the only time we're going to use x for times. I'm going to say 0.62, and then we're going to multiply like normal. Notice I did not line up my decimals, okay? So I'm going to say 2 times 8 is 16, carry the 1. 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. I'm going to cross out my 1 because I've used it. I've used my 2, so I've got my placeholder. 6 times 8 is 48, carry the 4. 6 times 1 plus 4 is 10. I don't need to multiply by this 0 because it's just going to be all zeros. And then I know I need to add these. So I'm going to say 6 plus 0 is 6. 8 plus 3 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 and 1. So we have multiplied like normal, no problemo. So the last step that we talked about was we need to count. Well, how many numbers are behind a decimal? I have 1. And then I have 1, 2. So I have a total of 3 numbers behind the decimal. So I am going to start at the right, and I am going to go 1, 2, 3. So my answer to 1.8 times 0.62 is 1.116. And we are finished. Let's try another, and then I'm going to have you do a practice problem. So here's another one. Let's try negative. So now I'm going to throw our positive and negative rules in there, but you can use your card. Negative 34.7 times a negative 3. So let's set this up. So I have 34.7 times 3. Now I'm not going to worry about my negatives right now. If you want to put your lines, you can. We're going to multiply just like normal, okay? 3 times 7 is 21, carry the 2. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. We said after you've multiplied like normal, now we're going to count. Well, I only have one number behind my decimal here. So that means in my answer, I'm going to start at the right, and I'm going to move one number behind my decimal. So my answer is 104.1. But don't forget about your signs. So now we're going to go back, and we're going to say, okay, I have a negative times a negative is a positive. And again, we've talked about you don't have to put the positive. I would like you to try this example. So I want you to write it down and set up your columns. And then you're going to pause me. And after you've solved the problem, you're going to unpause me and see if you got the correct answer. So, welcome back. Let's see how you did. Here's my columns. So I went ahead. Now, I'm going to put this 12.2 on the top because there are more digits there. You can do it the other way, not a problem. Times 4.1. So I said 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Do not forget your placeholder. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. I'm going to add these up. 2, 10, 10, and 5. And then again, I'm going to count. I have one number behind a decimal. I have another number behind a decimal. That is a total of 2. And from the right to the left, 1, 2. And then I need to look at my signs because I'm almost done. I have a positive times a negative is a negative. So my answer was a negative 50.02. So I'm hoping that you did okay on that one. If not, I want you to make a little star so that we can ask some questions. The second operation we're going to talk about today with decimals is dividing decimals. We've done a little bit with this, but we're going to focus strictly on that today. I want you to remember that if we have a fraction, that does mean divide. So cowboy, horse, cowboy goes outside, or cowboy goes inside, horse goes outside. These actually have actual vocabulary words, so I want you to draw this picture. So we have the number inside is our dividend. The number, that is actually your numerator. It's the number you're dividing things into. We have our divisor. That is your denominator. And then we know that our answer is our quotient. Things that you must remember when we are dividing decimals, okay? You cannot have a decimal in the denominator or the divisor. Have a decimal in the divisor. Okay. If you have a decimal in the denominator, you must move it to create a whole number. Okay. If you move on the outside, you have to move the inside. Then you must move the decimal inside. Okay, so let's do an example of what this looks like. And again, I'm going to suggest that you turn your paper sideways so that you can use those columns to help you keep everything nice and straight. So I'm going to draw my lines here, and I'm going to set up my problem. So I know based on cowboy horse, I'm going to, oh, I'm still on line, sorry. Here's my drawing. So I have 0.8, that's my denominator, 12.9, 0.96. I didn't extend my lines high enough. Now notice that I have a decimal outside, and that's a big no-no. So in order to make this whole number, I would have to move 1 to the right. If I move, it's just like a fraction. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. If we do something on the outside, we have to do it on the inside. I moved 1 outside, I'm going to move 1 inside, and then don't forget to bring your decimal up because it's not moving now. When we divide, we say 8 into 1. It doesn't go, but 8 goes into 12 one time. We're going to subtract. Bring down the 9. 8 goes into 49 6 times. That's 48. Subtract, and 8 goes into 16 twice. So then you need to look at your signs. So we have 16.2. They're both positive, so we're done. So I'm going to do one more example with you. And then I'm going to ask that you try one on your own. On this example, we're going to set up that negative 0.019 on the outside, 2.413 on the inside. So we've got 1, 2, 3 to move this time. 1, 2, 3. Bring it up. And then we're not going to worry about these zeros, because now it's just 19. 19 doesn't go into 2. 19 goes into 24 once. Going to have to do a little borrowing. 19 goes into 51. How many times? We could try it. We could say 19 times 3 is too much. So we're going to have to go with 2. Is 38. Borrow again. 13. And then the 3, and it goes into 133 exactly 7 times. So we're almost done. So we've got 127, and a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So on this last example, again, I want you to pause me, and then I want you to come back and check your work. So welcome back. Let's see how you did. 0.3936. Again, moving once and bring it up. 48 does not go into 3. 48 does not go into 39. 48 goes into 393 8 times, which is 384. I borrow, that becomes an 8, so I get 96, and 48 goes into 96 twice. Don't forget to check your signs. These are both positive, so my answer is just 82 thousandths. I'll see you in class.